is the fact that this person went into the church, killed 9 people, contemplated this for months, planned it, actually thought about not doing it, but still figured he would do it. Mm-hmm. After he sat there and said, they seem like really nice people.
I don't think
somehow he didn't go through the process of elimination in his mind, the thinking process to say, okay, I came here to kill these people.
But they're really nice to me.
Because my thing, weren't you sitting in the wrong place in the first place? You went to church.
Right.
It wasn't like you went to a bar and sat there. And I'm not saying it's okay to go kill people in the bar. But I'm just saying, you went to a church of people who you assume are trying to be good people.
Yes.
So you went after what, I'm not saying all church people are good either, by the way. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. It was an interesting place to choose to go, a historic church, by the way, to choose to go there to do this. Now there's rumors that, he wanted to start a race war, all these kind of things. They've got pictures of him with the Confederate flag.
Yes.
So clearly it's all in the fact.
Gun.
Yeah, this was all intentional. Mm-hmm. We still don't have all the details if he was a legal, gun-carrying person. We don't know that yet. He was only 21.
Right.
So I'm not even sure if he'd hit the age limit to be able to have that. But it's interesting that all these things are coming out. Like, no, we need to focus on him.
That's the issue. That's
him.
the real
He's the issue.
That's the issue.
And why he felt the way that he felt. And the thing is, he's still alive to talk about it.
Yes.
So he didn't kill them to kill himself.
Right.
He's alive to talk about it.
He was smart enough not to do that. He was cognizant enough not to do that.
Which means he knew right from wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
He knew enough he didn't want to kill himself.
Right.
So that's tell you how much he was down for the cause. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting, So obviously Charles Cotton is being scrutinized. Toby Keith, I mean, it was kind of light what he said. It's not new what he said.
Right.
He's always been a pro-gun supporter. So this is not new that he would say this. I do believe sometimes you should shy away from things. Even though I understand you feel it should be okay for people to carry weapons, I think given a situation like this, given it was racially motivated, I think there's certain conversations people should just step away from.
I agree.
And not really. And Charles Cotton, regardless of what was going on in that forum you were in, you should have stepped away from it because there was nothing anybody can say good about this. Period.
Not at all. It opens another can of worms. So
right. Yes. And I'm not sure if you're trying to deflect from the race conversation because the shooter made it clear it was about race. Mm-hmm. So that's a sidebar conversation to me. Gun control laws is not going to bring those 9 people back. And it's not going to prevent, by the way, future killings.
It is not.
Because even if you said guns were no longer legal in this country, here's the problem. All the wrong people would still have them. Yes. So now people who maybe should have them should be unarmed. And that's why gun control laws, that's why people are going to fight for it. Like, wait a minute. So people can have them illegally and we can't stop that? But the people who can't have them legally, you want to stop them? How does that make any sense?
It doesn't work.
That's why if you don't like the idea, you got to step back and say, okay, we didn't start out like this.
Right.
The Constitution was written a certain way for a reason. It's obsolete to a degree at this point, but it's too late. It's there. The right to bear arms is there. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to be able to change that. All right, this is the Maya Akai Show. We are into the What's Trending section of the show. The conversation will continue. You want to join it? 708-223-0030 or get social with the show at the Maya Akai Show.
Nikki Braden,
all right,
everywhere.
Take a quick break. We'll be right back.
On Twitter at the Maya Akai Show, on Instagram at Maya Akai, and friend her on Facebook.
Social media is bringing us all closer together.
The Maya Akai Show. Radio never looked so good.
And I'm going to retweet this.
Your radio never sounded better.
Tachyo Radio. The station's so far in front, we need ourselves coming.
6 years.
All right, what else we got?
6 years is how long your senator has sat in her office.
Ooh.
Okay, so when you come back, come back with that. You're tuned into the Maya Akai Show about that one we talked about. These are the top of this break coming back.
The future.
Social media one?
No, it's just say tuned in. You're tuned into the Maya Akai Show, the one we talked about. I think you were just going to leave it open.
Top of the hour.
Yeah. We can always relabel these, like call them top of the hour. And the other ones are like social media, so those don't matter where you play those.
What's important to Wayne County seniors is important.
All right, let's get into
As Wayne
some of the
County
other
Sheriff
stuff
for the
that's
last 20
trending.
years,
What I
no
do with it?
one is more qualified. Numbers don't lie. Ficano continues to successfully manage a county budget of $110 million. Those are strong numbers that all add up to one man for the job. Robert Ficano. Unless Congress acts now,
Where are we at?
scheduled doctor payment cuts will give you fewer doctors to choose from.
We're a little like behind, but that's fine because I'll be honest, man, 2 o'clock our own hotel we were doing, so we can just keep rolling with some of the stuff and keep it going.
Okay.
So we'll wrap this up after the 12:20, and then we'll move into the food for thought.
Okay.
HD Radio with your host, Maya Akai, and featuring comedian Nikki Braden. Radio never looks so good.
All right, welcome back to the Maya Akai Show featuring comedian Nikki Braden. That's right. It never looks so good. I don't know. I'm looking a little rough today, so I don't know if that's right to say that. No close-up.
The Monday struggle is real in here.
It is. I am not looking right today, so keep that at a distance, please, so people can't see all the flaws I got going. All right, if you want to join the conversation, you can always tune in. Obviously, you're listening via 90.5 FM HD radio. It's smooth, of course. And then via Sirius XM channel 432, or maybe you're streaming worldwide at Live365, iHeartRadio.com. And of course, if you want to watch and listen via live stream, you should go right to the station radio site, which is WGSJBCradio.com, and click on the live stream link, and you can watch. You can also click there to listen, so it kind of ties you right to everything you need to go. If you're questioning everything I just said, just go to the Maya Akai Show page, and all the links are right there. You can just click and listen.
She made it easy for you.
I made it easy for you. You can just go click and listen and make it simple and not remember all the things that I just said. So we're in the What's Trending portion of the show. We talk about those hot topics and headlines that are trending around the country as you were sleeping or over the weekend. You know, different things are going on. One of the key things is that there's some tensions building in the Supreme Court. Obviously, there are some rulings that are set to be rolled out that are going to be historic in the sense of talking about gay marriage, as well as the Affordable Health Care Act that people like to call Obamacare. I hate that. I will always refer to it as the Affordable Health Care Act because I hate when people say Obamacare because it just drives me nuts. I hate that. So pretty much there are roughly 11 cases left to decide, which is going to be interesting in regards to the gay marriage, gay couple. There's some state laws that they want to ban same-sex marriages. And the conservatives are challenging that, obviously, from a legal standpoint. So there's some rulings that the U.S. Supreme Court are going to have to weigh down on, as well as it'll be interesting that, for what it's worth, for, I guess, the upside and the downside of the Affordable Health Care Act, there are people who still don't want to see it in place.
Yes.
You know, for whatever, obviously, and it's interesting because what I've heard about the Affordable Health Care Act, and actually I'm familiar with it because I work in healthcare. I work in an ER, so hence I've seen the impact that it's had in regards to, there's been lots of cuts in regards to, like, what, for instance, what insurance companies will pay, what Medicare, what Medicaid will pay. But let me just say this, from a consumer standpoint, healthcare costs were out of control.
Yes,
so the cuts they actually made, don't get me wrong, I have folks I know work in healthcare like me, but some of the stuff that people were paying, at the rate they were paying it, is what made it so absorbent and unaffordable for the average person to be able to afford anything. Mm-hmm. So pretty much when the Affordable Health Care Act rolled out, what it did was it qualified people based on income. So if you needed state-funded, which would be Medicare or Medicaid, it made those kind of products available to you. And then, hence, if you had people who didn't qualify because of income, what happened was the likes of Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, they all got into the act and created product for people to buy to be more cost effective. Because I'll be honest, Cobra is no joke.
It is expensive. If you lose your job and you have to have Cobra.
When I stepped down from doing my job on a full-time basis, and I just kind of do it when they need me on call, I never realized how much my employer paid into my actual healthcare plan. It was like more like an 80-20%.
So you weren't paying that much for
I was paying like $80 a month.
Right.
For like a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO with dental. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it was pretty cost effective. Mm-hmm. I know people who have more kind of self-employment or have, obviously what makes your
small
insurance
businesses.
Plans, what makes them so, is the more employees you have,
right,
the less the insurance plan is.
Sure. So there are more people paying into it.
So obviously for smaller businesses or self-employed people, it was very expensive. When I got my Cobra package and they were like $5.98 a month, I was like, for who? Because wait a minute, I was just paying $80 a month. But I get it. I'm now no longer under that umbrella. So then I just went into what's called the healthcare marketplace, talked to somebody about what I had, and said, look, here's what I had. I want something comparable to this. I'm not paying, what I'm probably paying for 1 month of Cobra, I know you can probably find me something that's more like 2 months. And she did. She went out, and I'm like, I'd prefer to stick with Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's just my preference. Mm-hmm. I've had that for years. And she found me a program that made sense. And it was really for like about 50% of that. Wow. I didn't expect anything cheap because I want good coverage. But here's the thing. Say you just want the bare minimums just to make sure in an emergency situation you have something. That's in place.
Yes.
So what the Affordable Health Care Act did is it gave people access to having plans that wouldn't have been able to afford it before. Because let's be honest, the big boys got into it. The Blue Crosses, Blue Shields, the Cignas, they saw the value of doing this. It also created jobs, FYI. Yes. It was really interesting how this whole thing kind of expanded. I think it's so interesting that people want to make it tougher for people to have access to this. Well, there are countries where healthcare is just free. Here's the thing, we're not proposing that it should just be free. I mean, even though some people technically are paying into it and some people aren't, because if you get the state-funded programs like the Medicaids and Medicares, you're not paying into that. It is technically free for you, and that's based on your income. Now, I will say this, I've also noticed, though, with those plans, which are called community care plans, that are still managed through like Blue Cross Blue Shield, technically, it isn't quite as good as if you have the real deal. But it still gives you something. You still have a select, place you can go, but you still have something. You still have something.
In a clutch situation.
So I just think it's sad that for all the millions of people that were able to get coverage, who needed it, who had healthcare issues, that honestly were going into emergency rooms and creating bills that they knew they couldn't pay. Emergency rooms cannot turn you away. Right. And ultimately they may have gotten a temporary fix at that moment, but they still didn't have any real solutions. To think about taking this away from millions of people with no real solution, I just find that despicable.
It is. It's
and then very self. This gets back to, you see why we got problems as a country? Mm-hmm. This is why we got problems as a country. Because people feel like, look, I can't afford this. We already know we're struggling to raise minimum wage, which itself is a joke. Most people can't live off minimum wage. So if they can't live off that, do you think they can afford health care? They barely have a roof over their head and food on their table.
Right.
So unfortunately, health care gets to the back burner, and then it's only really an issue until something goes wrong, and it's like, oh, no, I don't have any health coverage. Now, kids generally are covered, period. They're usually under Medicaid. So when you have a kid under 21, Illinois specifically, you can have coverage for your kid, and most mothers or the parent can get coverage as well. Then when they had the Affordable Health Care Act, it expanded this. So I'm serious, when this really is going to be put under the microscope, because it rolled out in 2012, I hope people take in consideration who this really affects. And if you're going to pull it off the table, then I feel that politicians who are fighting this, and people pay close attention to who fights this, they better have a solution, because now you're going to put people back in the cold again.
We're taking steps backwards.
And to me, these are some major rulings that they have to, put under consideration. Here's the thing, the gay marriage cases, here's my thing about this. It doesn't matter how you really feel about it. Based on the Constitution, there is nothing that says this can't be. Understand, when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution, what they didn't think was the hookup was real. They didn't think. I'll be honest. Just like the right to bear arms, they had no idea moving forward
that it would turn into
or freedom of speech.
Right.
They had no idea that we was gonna go ham like this. Like, okay, if I would have known these fools in the future it was gonna be this silly, maybe we would have thought differently.
This wasn't on their mind. This a little bit. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, we went around this. So they had no idea that this was going to be put on the table in the issue. So people, whether you like it or not, it's their constitutional right. So can I ask why we want to spend all this money fighting for something that's their constitutional right?
No.
Let that go.
We got bigger fish to fry, people.
We have bigger fish to fry.
Bigger fish to fry.
You don't have to agree with it, but based on the Constitution, it's their right.
Let's
just keep it moving. Here's the thing. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's here. It's finally broken through the ceiling. It's a real conversation on the table.
It's here to stay.
It's here to stay. It's a new day and age. How we look at homosexuality and all this other stuff. Granted, we do need to have some conversations, and people should allow to be honest about how they feel and why they feel that way without being demonized.
Sure.
The problem is it should be here and you should have no opinion. No. People deserve to have an opinion. Mm-hmm. But as I say, the key thing is they have no right to impede on your happiness.
Exactly.
And in your prosperity. And that's just the bottom line. So we need to have some real conversations. So some big historical cases are set to roll out, and I'll be curious how this goes.
How this unfolds.
And
we'll see.
We'll see. And I'm really hoping that for what it's worth, that we don't take a step back.
Which it looks like we are.
I don't know. Let me just say this. Lobbying is really, really key. And when legislation gets passed, as well as the influence when you talk about court systems and even politicians. Mm-hmm. And one power base that is huge in this country is the LBGT. Not just them, but people who support them.
Yes.
So when I say that don't think by any means that we're going to be able just to sweep this under the rug, it's gotten to the point where the pile under the rug, you can no longer ignore it.
Right.
And because their support base is so strong, it's gonna happen one way or the other. Whether it's now or 2 more years from now, it's interesting.
And so I'm like, stop fighting it. Let's just stop fighting it now, because it's inevitable. it is inevitable. So let's just stop fighting it and let it go.
And let it go.
And move on to the bigger fish.
And you know, the other thing I think is key, especially about the healthcare perspective, that this is a very large part of President Obama's legacy.
Yes.
You know, this was a platform he stepped on. He the Clintons kind of started, but he really picked it up, formed it, and put it and took it there. And though it had its quirks, as anything